India's market news headquarters. Cutting-edge analysis. Influential insights. Market-moving intelligence. Broadcasting live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studios in Mumbai.
Good morning. You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Bazaar Morning Call. Thursday morning, we are coming to you as always from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. It's going to be an interesting day. Lots of pulls and pushes. US markets ending slightly lower. It's a holiday. I mean, actually, US is out for the rest of the week. So, we perhaps will be operating in a bit of a vacuum as we come back tomorrow and maybe into today as well. I'm Prashant. With me, my colleagues Nigel and Survi. Guys, hi, good morning.
Hi, morning, folks. Not looking too bad. I mean, the market's been consolidating. It's been holding the recent lows. 24,000 has sort of so far, been lasting on the street as well. And I guess the cues are not too bad. I mean, maybe we don't have a roaring rally on Wall Street, but I think it's been pretty okay so far.
Well, despite no roaring rally, I think the cues are stacked heavily in favor of the bulls. And I think it has the makings of a good couple of sessions. So let's see how it goes. It hasn't been too bad of late, but it has the makings of a couple of good trading sessions.
The market did very well yesterday.
Yes.
And I think maybe Nifty will pick up as well. So 24,350 is that level. Let's see if we're able to get to that or not. But levels come a little later. Let's pick up from where, of course, US markets left off. So as I said, I mean, slightly weaker. You had the S&P down about 0.4%, NASDAQ down 0.6%. And actually, NVIDIA was down 1.5%. I mean, the importance of NVIDIA has become so large that 1.5% cut, the rest of the chip stocks all sell off, and that's the largest weight down on the S&P. It's a US Thanksgiving holiday, so NYSE, NASDAQ, bond markets, everything is shut later today. I mean, there is no US, so as to speak. Today, and then, of course, I think tomorrow as well, it's a half a day. Anybody of size, any large institutional investor perhaps is out for the week already. So, it's in that sense, it's a bit of a vacuum as you trade today's session and, of course, come back tomorrow. You also had numbers from Dell last night. Numbers were disappointing, especially in the revenue. Stock was down about 12%. I'll come to some of the macro indicators. 10-year yield down about 6 basis points. So there was a sharp sell-off, 4.25%. The dollar index was down sharply as well. And I think we need to note this. But I was making this point yesterday during Asian session as well. It's things like the Japanese yen, the New Zealand dollar, and a couple of other things as well. I mean, actually, even something like the Mexican peso against the dollar, the Canadian dollar, it's a reaction function. So when you look at the dollar index, remember that it's a combination of all of this, and JPY especially has got a large move. By the way, the JPY closed with a 151 handle, and it was as high as 155. Or actually, I should say the cross was as low as 155. So 155 to 151 within this week. So that's a very large move on a currency like US dollar, Japanese yen. And maybe there is more strength here for the Japanese yen. So December meeting, will the Bank of Japan be hawkish? Will there perhaps be some move? I think we'll need to wait and watch. In terms of US economic data, there are a plethora of indicators, but I'm not really stressing on it because it did not have really that much of a price implication, market implication. Inflation was in line. You had stable claims, personal consumption data slightly softer, and incomes were stronger. Oil prices are flat, just under $73 a barrel this morning, so no change, absolutely flat. In terms of nominations from the incoming president, US President-elect Trump, you got one more nomination. I think this is important, right? Widespread expectation that Trump on day one, as he's promised, will put the Ukraine-Russia war and bring it to a close. So he's nominated a gentleman called Keith Kellogg. He's essentially a former Army general. And he's sort of publicly in the past, Mr. Kellogg has called for cutting military aid to Ukraine. His argument is that this war is being sustained only because the West and NATO and especially US is funding Ukraine with missiles, with arms, armaments, and of course, money as well. And he's called for cutting that aid off to Ukraine. So, it's kind of in line with expectations of Trump's promise to end that conflict as well. Now, just to sort of circle back and tie in the levels here, Nifty yesterday, actually 3 days now, it's faced selling pressure around the 40-day exponential moving average. That number is about 24,350. We almost got to it once again for the third time this week and then sold off from there. So that's the first kind of target to take out, right? 24,350. Let's hopefully I mean, that comes into view and we close above it. Once you close above it, I mean, then we'll talk about the 50% and the 61.8% retracement of the fall that we've seen from the all-time high to the recent low. And you'll start talking about levels like 24, I think 660 and beyond. But let's just get past this hump first. Supports come in for the Nifty at about 24,125. For the Nifty Bank, resistance zone is 52,680, which is, by the way, the 61.8% retracement, and 52,817, which is the low, the swing low before that, before the market actually broke down a little bit more. So that is the resistance zone for the Nifty. I mean, numbers have not changed because these are not moving averages. We put these levels out earlier as well. But so far, Bank Nifty's failed to get to these numbers. Supports come in at the 40-hourly exponential, which is 51,698. So very near-term structure is what we are looking at. FIs were buyers yesterday for the second day in a row, not counting, I mean, the prior day when there was that MSCI-related inflow. So 2 days in a row, a very small number. But I mean, at least they're not sellers. And I think that at the margin is the silver lining as well. GIFT Nifty should indicate how the start is likely to be. It's about 20, 22 odd points higher. Broader markets, mid-cap, small caps, lots of action. Yesterday, the mid-cap index ended 0.8% higher. The small-cap index was up about 1.33%. So single stocks, I think, are also going to be in focus. We'll come to that a little later. Surbhi.
Well, absolutely. By the way, guess what started moving higher while the equity market was cooling off in the US? Bitcoin. Yeah, you guessed it. The crypto market has added, maybe trying to get into a bit of holiday cheer. And let's see if it can, cross that milestone, 100,000, right? We're back to the countdown. This morning, prices are around 96,500 on the Bitcoin. It's about a 5-6% surge. Anyway, in terms of US market action, along with a lot of the other data points that came through, for instance, inflation, etc., which were in line with estimates, there was also the second reading of the US GDP number, the third quarter GDP number, and that was in line with estimates. About 2.8% was the rise. So it's telling us that the US economy continues to chug along quite nicely. And consumer spending, which is, of course, one of the largest contributors to that GDP number, that did really well. Consumer spending is up about 3.5% in that GDP print. So looking very, very solid and strong. And it's expected to pick up as, you get into holiday season. Full throttle sales are supposed to be really good. Of course, today there's no trade because of Thanksgiving. And even tomorrow, there's only a half-a-day session. So therefore, volumes are likely to be very light throughout. So you'll really get a clearer, decisive move in the US market now only on Monday. Coming across to Asia, yesterday we had that surprise 50 basis points rate cut from the Bank of New Zealand, and now it's Korea that's moved. South Korea, the central bank there has cut rates by 25 basis points. GDP growth has been faltering in South Korea, so we've got some rate action over there. But otherwise, markets are actually range-bound. If you're looking at Asian markets, let's see if we can get some of them up for you on the screen. The Hong Kong market, for instance, has been down a little bit. Even mainland China is a little weak. There's a little bit of green on some of the other regional markets like Australia. The Nikkei is managing about less than 0.5% increase. A mixed picture, not a very clear directional universal move in Asia. That's what we have. The good news for us really is the fact that consolidation here in India has been happening with a very clear upward bias. The lows are holding. And for the third day running, the Nifty is above the 24,000 mark. In fact, we've seen a pickup every time there is a major dip, and mid-caps are really outperforming as well. The flows picture yesterday, now it's a very small, mild buy, just about 8 crores of net buy number from the FPIs. Domestic institutions, remember yesterday they were on the sell side, but again, day before they were on the sell side, but yesterday they came back on the buying side of the screen, so that's good news as well. Let's see if the FPI, selling at least is over. Then the bulls will take that with both hands. Watch out for the capex side of the market once again, because interest is coming back into these names. We saw the JP Morgan report on defense, for instance, and the meter is on. Whether it's project awards or order wins, companies are constantly announcing this. So you'll hear that from KC International today. Vari's announced some orders. Stocks like Hudco, NBCC, all of them announcing fresh work and fresh projects. So perhaps this part of the market will continue to be active. But yeah, it's been good going for the last couple of days, at least this week for the market, Nigel.
Well, one would say that FIs have net bought only 8 crores. Why are you getting so excited? It's better than them selling 800 crores and selling 8,000 crores.
Exactly.
So thank God for small mercies. And things have suddenly started looking pretty good.
Yeah.
The FI is selling, that has subsided. You have the dollar index that's cooled off. And in fact, you have the ruling NDA government that's looking much stronger post that Maharashtra win. So things looking good on the domestic front. Even globally overnight, the dollar index cooled off a little bit. Brent crude prices well behaved. The yields as well have cooled off. So in that case, though the US markets ended with a bit of red, That's a very, very good cues for us when we open up today. Moving to the November series. Today is the last day of the November series, and what a volatile one it's been, right? It's been quite nervous, actually, for the bulls, because we made the high earlier on in the series, and then, in fact, we corrected close to under 1,000 points or thereabouts. Now we're closer to the upper end of the range for the series. And can we end the series with a flourish? The Q suggests that maybe that could be possible as well. Looking at the rollovers, the Nifty rollovers, well, they're more or less in line. Normally, on an average for the last few sessions, last few series, it's been around 58, 59% or thereabouts. So more or less in line out there. But, the Nifty Bank, that one, in fact, the rollovers have been a little higher. The Nifty Bank rollovers have been around 77%, which is higher than what we have seen on an average. Moving to the FI data points, well, the long positioning, close to around 15,000 contracts were added yesterday by the FIs. Shorts, more than longs, they continue to remain net short with close to around 65% of their positionings on the short side. The big question is, the last few days, we have gone to 24,350, and we have not been able to clock that mark, to cross that mark. Just take a look at that. Last 3 trading sessions, almost every day we have gone over there, but we have slipped a little bit from the top. Now, today, the scenario is such that we have expiry day that will play out. You also have cues that are heavily stacked in favor of the bulls. So hopefully we can get past this hump and then look at higher levels. The 20 DMA becomes a reference point on the downside. And what's changed over the last few trading sessions is both the pillars of the market have started doing well. Reliance Industries, it made a low closer to around the 1,200 rupee mark out, and that's bounced back. And HDFC Bank as well. That's suddenly become the leader because in the last few sessions, HDFC Bank has got its mojo bank. It's made a fresh 52-week high as well. While Reliance Industries, from around that 1,200 rupees or thereabouts, it's not breaking lower levels, which is good news. You like both these two solid weights to continue with good gains because that's more than 20% of the index. So the Q stacked in favor of the bulls. Let's see whether or not we can end the series with a flourish.
Okay, all right. So that's what we have in terms of, the trading setup and the cues today. Let's get the party started, so to speak, with the equity call of the morning. As always, we have Mixo Das of JP Morgan, who believes that Asian equities are poised to gain into early 2025, given, number one, the better growth momentum until tariffs hit through, a combination of China stimulus and front-loading of trade. And number two, improving AI sentiment as focus shifts from capabilities to workflow solutions. And number three, US exceptionalism being perhaps the most consensus trade among investors. And point number four, positive seasonality around the year end. So expecting a good end to the year on equities.